How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be taking a look at Ragin Cajun Redneck Gators. This is also known as Alligator Alley, and yeah, I have to say, Redneck Gators is definitely the better version of the title. This movie's from 2013 and is made in association with the SyFy channel. The movie was, according to the internet, directed by Griff Furst. However, the movie's opening credits list the director as Myman, so maybe it's a pen name or something? I don't know. Speaking of double names, this movie stars Jordan Danger, credited here as Jordan Hinson. I'm guessing this is before she picked up her pen name. We also have Richie Montgomery and Thomas Francis Murphy. Now, if you guys are familiar with this channel, you know that I do a series called Sharks of Summer, where during the summer I watch a bunch of shark movies. For that series, I got this Shark Bait 6-pack. It includes 6 shark movies, but if we look at the bottom, it says it includes a special bonus bite. And that will of course be this Alligator film, which the box does list as Alligator Alley. And yeah, this really does feel like a bonus film. I mean, I don't want to harp on it too hard, it's not the worst film I've ever seen, but it's fairly generic. Oh no, something's mutated the gators, we gotta go out and find the gators and go and get them. It's not that much of a worse plot than any of these other generic creature features. I just never could really get into it. So yeah, it just kinda was one that felt a little bit flat. Most of the humor in this movie does have to deal with the Cajun angle, which is basically a bunch of guys yelling at each other with thick Cajun accents and telling a bunch of Cajun jokes, and it's fine, at least the atmosphere that the title promised is there, but I don't know, it's just a movie that never really clicked with me, never got me invested, and towards the end of the movie I was just like, when is this going to be over? So yeah, if you just want a lazy SyFy channel creature feature, this fits the bill the same as any of the other ones do. I don't know, I'm not gonna remember this too long from now, so gotta do this review really quick, right? But in order to analyze the movie further, what's the film about? I won't be doing any major spoilers, but let's talk about the setup for this movie. This movie features a young woman coming back home after 4 years away. You see, it turns out she went off to college and is now more acclimated to city life. However, she grew up in the swamps of Louisiana, and now she has to kind of get reacquainted with her old family. Her dad, her stepmom's brother that likes her step-uncle is in love with her, and it's never really brought up. Okay, it's a little weird. But we also get the rival family. You see, her family and this other family have been at each other's throats, literally ready to shoot each other at a moment's notice for at least 100 years. No one's really quite sure how long it's been, and people don't know the exact cause. However, each family seems to have a story about how the other family fed members of them to the alligators. And wouldn't you know it, she just so happens to secretly be in love with the boy from the rival family, very Romeo and Juliet style. Now, if you guys know your film tropes, you know a good chunk of this movie. Do you think you can really abandon your family? Are you too good for us? Don't forget your roots and where you came from. And of course, maybe our rivalry is too overhyped. Maybe we shouldn't hate each other as much as we do. However, despite being fairly generic, it's never really developed in any interesting or different way, or really at all, because they don't really spend too much time doing character work. Most of the movie is just characters yelling at each other with thick Cajun accents to derive some humor. However, the movie hits off when the head of the rival family is attempting to make moonshine with special chemicals he learned about from the internet. The chemicals make the moonshine blue, and it tastes bad, so they just dump it in the swamp where it starts to mutate the gators. The gators have a red stripe around their neck, so they literally are redneck gators, and they have long tails with spikes on the end of them, and the spikes, they can like swing their tails and stab people, or they can shoot their spikes out and kill people. They have a projectile weapon, and you think, oh wow, that sounds cool. But again, the movie is primarily just the two families yelling at each other. Honestly, the gator would go and do something cool, and I'd be like, oh yeah, I forgot they could do cool stuff. We haven't done that in a while. And yeah, the gators are pretty bad CGI, but every now and then we will get some fun, wacky kill sequence like when they do pick people up with their tails, but again, pretty few and far between. The rest of the movie is fairly generic. The two families hate each other. In fact, at one point they're sure their rival family is killing them, not the gators themselves. And then you get the whole, where are the gators? How do we get them? And that sort of thing. There is one subplot in this movie that does kind of illustrate how the plot is handled, because in the middle of the movie, apropos of nothing, there's a sequence where there's like this crocodile whisper character that's kind of like a funny TV stereotype, but he comes into the movie in the middle for no reason, and then his plot fizzles out really quick. In fact, we get one scene to wrap up his plot after his plot is pretty much already wrapped up. So yeah, we do get a few ideas that kind of bump in and then fizzle out with not terribly much happening. The step-uncle character that hits on her for a while, it doesn't really amount to anything. There's not a great conclusion piece to that plot. So yeah, a little rocky and a little messy. But I do have to mention there is a plot element that is hinted at earlier, but when you get to the third act, really does take over the movie. I won't spoil what it is, but it has this weird thing where it's both incredibly stupid. It's a really, really dumb idea, and that's in a movie called Ragin Cajun Alligators. It's already a silly movie, but it is way too dumb and stupid, and it takes over like the last act, like it's abruptly, this is what the movie's about. But B, it's also strangely depressing, which is super weird that we'd be doing this goofy sci-fi channel movie, and then we get this element, and you're like, oh, that's just sad, I guess. And as I said at the top, towards the end of this movie, I was kind of just waiting for it to be over. So again, it's not the worst of these creature features I've ever seen. You know, they are out there, they are trying to be funny, they are trying to do a few gags, but it never really clicked for me, and the weird angle that it goes to in the third act really didn't help anything either. So yeah, I can't really recommend this. Again, if you just want generic sci-fi channel creature feature filler, if you want something to laugh at a little bit but not really have to engage with too much, this fits that bill, but overall, this really isn't anything super special, so can't really recommend it. Anyway, all that being said, to everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping the channel out. I'll leave a relevant playlist on the bottom if you guys want to hear me talk about more things kind of like this. You can click right here and see more. Anyway, have a good day. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Playlist here. Have a good day now.